Okay. Uh, all right. Now, for today's briefing, okay, is basically, I believe that a lot of you also heard from some of your friends and then from social medias, okay, you actually start to heard about this new grant, okay, is what we call the Grant Penyelidikan Exploratory and also Transformative Grant, okay. So this is government initiative, Ministry of Higher Education, to do away with the FRGS grant, okay. So previously, FRGS grant is mainly focused on the basic research, okay? So now Ministry of Higher Education, right, they has decided they want to do away with the FRGS, which is just mainly focused on the basic research. So now they actually want to allow the research is actually focused on both basic and also applied research, okay? Fundamental research and also applied research. All right. So for today's briefing, right? Okay, since the grant has opened on 1st of March, okay, and then the internal due date for submission is actually on 30th of March. So basically, we don't really have much time because there are a number of those requirement is actually compulsory and it takes times for you all to actually meet those requirements. So that's why I will just go through the requirement that actually set by Ministry of Higher Education, just to give you some briefing, okay? I think before this, right, your head of department or head of school did share some of those documents with all of you. Okay, anyway, I will just go through some of those important guidelines so that PGRC will be able to assist you so that you are actually can submit your proposal, all right, that is meeting the PGRC requirement screening process, okay? It can actually make the process smoother, okay? All right, so now, the main objective for this grant is actually, okay, Malaysia, right, they actually want to strengthen the research culture, okay, so that I think recently also a lot of, I mean, in the back 2 to 3 years, right, a lot of people that you all start to heard about say that, right, those government is lack of funding to actually to fund those public university for research activity. So that's why, right, government, one of the initiative is that, right, they actually want the university to do research, right, which actually can link to the industry, something that is wanted by the industry. So that is the way, one of the source of the income for the higher education institution in Malaysia, okay? So one of the main objective is that, of course, is to generate new knowledge that's reflect on local context. That's why you all can see that, right? Later on, I'm going to show you that, right? For this application, right, they actually need you to map your application into a few of those areas that is beneficial to the government initiative, all right? Then after that, system transformation, so that they actually look into the efficiency, the innovation, all right? They want to have a radical change to the existing system and processes. And then also, right, okay, the briefing by the Ministry of Higher Education indicate that, right, for the past 20 years for that FRGS grant, right, actually the number of people, number of researchers, right, that actually put in on the IP, right, is not that encouraging. So that's why, right, in the new grant, okay, that has make it compulsory, okay, that has make it compulsory to have IP, all right, to have IP filing for all the application. So that's why you can see that, right, objective, right, their main objective is on the intellectual advancement, okay, so that they actually want people to contribute to the higher level of the innovation and then the societal thinking. So this is the main objective for this research funding. Okay, so now, like I said at the beginning, we are no longer just limit to the fundamental research, okay, basic research. So government actually also extend, right, to the applied research. So that's why you can see that, right, beside exploratory research, okay, so exploratory research is basically those early stage of the research, right, for you to explore something, the new knowledge to understand the phenomenon. Like for example, the new phenomenon, some of those like brand rock, a new phenomenon, okay, so people need to understand that what exactly is the boundary for this phenomenon, okay. So this is called exploratory research. It's more on the basic research, okay, fundamental research. So government also understand that, right? Because a lot of scholar, a lot of researcher, right, did feedback to the government, said that, right, a lot of the time the scholarly research, right, they don't connect to the industry. They produce that something is not being cited by the industry to use by the government, okay, for policy development, all those things. So that's why, right, okay, this time they actually allowed the research, right, this funding to actually to fund on those transformative research. So basically, these are those research that actually they want to see that there is a radical change to the existing policy. There will be a new policy that is introduced, SOP, processes, or existing system. Meaning to say that you are taking the result from the fundamental research and then you want to apply changes. You want to apply changes or you want to make some major improvement, okay, we call it innovation, okay, to the existing process. So that's why this round they actually allow for exploratory and transformative research. Hang on, I think the recording is in process. Okay, so let me go back. All right. Okay, so the comparison between the research, right? Okay, now when you want to put in a proposal, you need to clearly indicate whether you are doing an exploratory research or whether you are doing a transformative research. You need to indicate in your application form, okay? So like I said just now, exploratory research, right? Basically, we just focus on the early stage of the phenomenon. So you still need to do more research to actually find out more about the unclear problem, okay, a new phenomenon that deserve a solution, okay? So basically the outcome, right, from this exploratory research, right, the outcome from the exploratory research will be this hypothesis or new study. Maybe you do a qualitative study, you understand better, so you actually can lead to a quantitative study that actually doing a confirmation of what you found in your qualitative study. So a foundational understanding and a conceptual framework, okay? So now, government also introduced something new, which is the technological readiness level, okay? Technological readiness level. Previous FRGS, right, they never actually assess on this one, okay? However, right, this year onwards, right, for this one, they need you to actually indicate that it's actually at what level, all right? Level 1, level 2, or level 3, okay? Level 3 is for transformative research, okay? So this one, if you are actually in level 1 or level 2, this one is most probably on the exploratory research. Now, this one, why this one is so important is because, right, this year for this grant also, they believe that the project should not just stop when you complete. They need to continue monitor the research project up to 3 years. Okay, so that 3 years after your project completed, right? That 3 years is actually for you to observe what are those return on value that your project can actually bring in. Okay, so that's why we need to have this technological readiness level to actually check on, right, whether you actually fulfill on the ROV or not. Okay, so those things later on I will go into detail again. So like I say, right, for exploratory research, basically you are answer the question, what is brain rot, a new phenomenon, how this phenomenon can happen and why it's actually happen. So most of the time you need to conduct a qualitative research like interview or focus group observation document review to find out more about the phenomenon. All right, so this one is on the exploratory research. Well, so, all right, on the other hand, right, transformative research is more about applied research. Okay, applied research. So for this one, you actually apply some of those model, some of those concepts in order for you to make changes in the policy, in the SOP, in the processes or existing system. So that's why, right, in this case, the technology readiness level is level 2 or 3. Okay, so basically you are actually applying, you want to prove the concept and you want for the betterment of the policy. Okay, so this one basically you need to answer how do you make changes and how do you measure the impact of the improvement. So you can see that the output also will be different. So this one is actually focused on those innovation, proof of concept, and policy change. Okay. So, like I say, right, you need to be very clear, okay, which type of research you are actually working on, whether it's actually on the exploratory or transformative research, because later on it's going to influence how you are going to measure on your ROV. All right. Now, so the objective of exploratory and transformative research, right? So basically why the government want to release this one is actually for research talent development, okay? So that's why we still have that. You still need to develop a GRA, graduate research assistant, and research assistant, okay? So this is part of the project, all right? You need to develop the talent, okay? And after that, of course, so that right, our nation can compete locally and also internationally. Okay, and commercialization gap. This is something that I mentioned at the very beginning. Okay, a lot of the time, okay, people start to realize that the scholarly work they do right does not connect with the industry. Okay, so they want to bridge the gap. So that's why they actually want right. Okay, whatever research that is being done later on, there is a value for it. You can commercialize it, okay? Then the last one, this is also something new for the new grant, okay? They actually want to have the development, they want to develop the researcher. So that's why moving forward for this grant, right, you need to have a mentor in your project team. You must have the mentor. So this mentor, right, will actually for the purpose of the researcher development, right? They actually want to develop the junior or the young researcher. So that's why mentor must be one of the project member. Okay. So after this, I'm going to brief you also on those requirements. Okay. Now the priority on the research area. Okay. So this research area still the same like FRGS, but this year, right, okay, government actually expand on the research area. So that's why they actually need you to map your proposal, right, into different, okay, different area. Like for example, not only you need to map into one of these 7 major research area, okay, so you need to make sure that you actually be able to map correctly, okay, like those panel will always emphasize that, right, if you actually choose wrongly, right, there will be a consequences is that, right, your project, when you go to the panel, they especially KPT panel, right, they will actually say that, right, your project does not fit into that area. You may get a high risk of rejection, okay? So like this one, right? This is something new, okay? Emerging Bitara research cluster, okay? SDG was there, okay? This one also was there. So some of those things that has been newly introduced, especially on this one, the mega trend, Rancangan Malaysia ke-13. So this one, right, is the 4 mega trend that has been introduced, okay? And they have also 3 additional research area. So like I say, right, you need to clearly know that your proposal map into which area, okay? So when you want to fill in your proposal, right? Okay, do not just map on one area so that you let the panel know that for your proposal is going to contribute to so many other area. Okay, so all the application also must align with the Malaysia Higher Education Plan. Okay, and also last time, right? Okay, last time ministry do not make it compulsory. They only say that encourage to have the industry collaboration. But this year onwards, they make it compulsory to have industrial collaboration. Okay. So you must identify, right? Okay, which ministry your project, right, can later on contribute to. All right, Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Finance. Okay, so you need to actually clearly indicate in your proposal. All right, this is something they make it compulsory. Okay, now application requirement. Okay, your research team. Okay, for your research team, right, your project leader, okay, it can be Malaysian or non-Malaysian, okay, it can be Malaysian or non-Malaysian, okay. uh Position, you must be active academic staff, okay, and permanent contract. Now, I do understand that, right? Because some of us, even myself, okay, I'm actually under contract, okay? I'm actually under contract. So basically, when you fill in that, right, okay, we will always put the staff, right, their status is actually permanent. So there is one criteria is this one, minimum service, at least 2 years at the institution, which is different from FRGS. FRGS only require 1 year, but the new requirement is at least 2 years at the institution. Okay, so don't worry about that. Okay, if you actually have 1 year, all right, so the endorsement will come from PGRC. Okay, we will check with HR, then we will actually do the endorsement, say that, right, you actually have at least 2 years in the institution. Okay, so now the applicant category, right, it can come from lecturer, senior lecturer, associate professor, and professor. Okay, now for those previous, I understand that some of our colleagues, right, they actually hold the FRGS grant before. Okay, so now ministry make it very clear you must be 100% completed your FRGS grant before with KPI achieved. Last time they actually did not include this KPI achieved, but now they actually make it very clear must be KPI achieved. And who to certify that whether they actually achieve the KPI or not? PGRC. Okay, in our case, PGRC will be the one that to verify that you have achieved all the KPI for your previous application. Okay, now the next requirement, I think none of us actually this requirement is actually applicable because, right, they say that, right, if you currently holding a PRGS grant, right, you cannot apply the funding to actually fund for the prototype and innovation development. Okay, and also this day ministry make it become very clear on the integrity requirement. Okay, last time they don't actually have this. Now, right, the institution PGRC will be tasked to actually to certify that, right, all the applicant, you do not involve in any disciplinary action, no criminal record, no bankruptcy, and you're actually free of high debt level. All right. So all these things, PGRC, we need to actually certify on all this. Okay. All right. Now, under what circumstances, right, is not eligible? Okay. If the applicants is actually on study leave, sabbatical leave, unpaid leave, industrial attachment, postdoc also cannot, secondment, academic attachment, fellowship. And if you're planning to transfer to another institution, okay, so this is the duration for a period of 6 or longer than the application period. You are not eligible to apply for this grant. Okay. Now, the team composition. Previously, right, under FRGS, they actually do not limit the number, but now they make it very clear. Okay, they make it very clear. Your team structure. Any question? All right. So team structure, right? They make it very clear. Must have a project leader. You have a core researcher, and collaborator is part of the research team. Okay, collaborator, and the collaborator need to provide when you are attached, when you submit your application, the collaborator CV must be there. All right, the collaborator CV must be there. And then this is the one that just now I mentioned. Okay, any project leader, okay, any project leader, if you are lecturer, if you're senior lecturer, if you're associate professor, right, in your application, one of the team member must be mentor. All right, must be mentor. So the mentor must hold a professor status. All right, must hold a professor status, and it must come from your same research area. And the good thing is that it can be from our institution and also other institution. Okay, it can be from our institution, also for other institution. Okay, and then this one, also in your team, you must have the next appointed leader. All right, next appointed leader. And just now I mentioned project leader can be Malaysian or non-Malaysian. But for next appointed leader, it must be Malaysian. It must be Malaysian. Okay. And permanent academic staff, same expertise and same institution. Okay, so this is the criteria for next appointed leader. Okay. Now, application requirement. Last time, a lot of these things, they don't make it compulsory. But these days, they spell out in the document, in the requirement, said that these are the things that they compulsory. They make it compulsory. The first one is the collaboration with the industry. They make it compulsory. Okay. And the documentation. Okay. Now, what type of documentation they mentioned at here? All right. Now, basically, when we want to have a collaboration with industry, normally it's either LOI, MOU, or MOA. But because of the time frame that we have, okay, my advice is that just go for LOI, letter of intent. All right, just go for LOI, letter of intent. If you have any difficulty, right, you are not too sure how to prepare the LOI, reach out to PGRC. We will guide you on that. Okay. So in that LOI, you must mention clearly, okay, what is the role of the industry, what is the role of University of Wollongong, Malaysia. All right, in that document, you must spell out clearly what is the role and what is the contribution the industry will give and what is UOW Malaysia will do in this case. Okay, so this is the document, right, must be attached when you submit your application. All right. Now, the next one is pattern search. Again, last time, right, they only said that you are encouraged to do a pattern search. This say no, it's compulsory for you to do a pattern search. And that document must be attached together. All right, must be attached together. So later on, I will just go through those documents. So at least you have a look, all right, how you can go about to complete all those documents. And next one is the risk assessment as well. All right, risk assessment as well. So they make it compulsory. You must assess the risk. All right, whether it's actually low, medium, high. So any of those risks, right? Okay, that you identify, you must have the comments or you must be able to provide a plan how to mitigate all those risks. Okay. All right. Now, the guideline, right? Okay. Application limit, right? Your maximum limit is 250,000. Okay. But when I say that 250,000, it doesn't mean that, right? You apply up to 215,000. Okay. 50,000. Be reasonable in term when you want to ask for funding. Okay. That's why last year, right, based on the feedback, right, based on the feedback is that KPT is not favor those project with high asking amount. So be reasonable on that, okay? Be reasonable on that. Later on, when I go through the budget on the different ward, I will go through this part again, okay? Now, maximum submission. Every project leader can only submit one application. All right, one application for this cycle, yeah? Okay, and no overlapping of project. That's why just now I said that if currently you are holding a PRGS, remember, is for prototype, all right? You are not allowed to apply for this GET grant, okay? Now, duration, it can be 2 or 3 years. Okay, it can be 2 or 3 years. Okay, 2 or 3 years, this one will affect later on when you on the talent requirement. Okay, 2 years, you only need to have one master GRA. All right. Whereas for PhD, right, for 3 years project, right, for 3 years project, you need to at least having one PhD or alternatively two master, all right, two master GRA, all right. Now, this is something new, all right, this is something new. Okay, meaning to say that, right, in your entire career, all right, in your entire career, right, you only can apply, you only can become the project leader for 3 times. Okay, so when we say that 3 times, right, this include all those FRGS, all those PRGS, any funding that get from MOHE, Ministry of Higher Education. So before this, if let's say, for example, you already have one FRGS grant before, so meaning to say that you only can apply 2 more chances to become the project leader. So this is a new requirement from Ministry of Higher Education as well. Okay. Now, the next thing is that, of course, this one, all right, they make it the spell out clearly. You must make sure that you observe MCRCR Code of Ethics or Conduct. All right. So Malaysia Code of Responsible Conduct in Research. Okay. So make sure that you don't involve in some of those unethical practice when you do research. All right. Now, research outcome. So research outcome, like I see, they make it compulsory for IP filing. Now, the good thing is that, right? The good thing is that the moment government make it compulsory for IP filing, right? Meaning to say that you are eligible to ask for funding for IP filing, which is different from FRGS grant before this. FRGS before this, right? They do not allow you to use the funding for IP filing. All right, they don't allow. But this one, the moment they make it compulsory for you to file for a IP, then in your application, you can put in the funding to apply for IP. So the priority, because there are a number of different type of the IP, you can have patent, you can have utility innovation, you can have copyright, you can have trade secret. So there are different type of the IP. So priority always given to patent. Okay, priority always given to patent. So again, like I say, right, okay, you can ask for funding to do IP filing. Okay, you can ask for funding to do IP filing under which board. Okay, after this, I'm going to tell you. Okay, so now talent development. This is like usual. The old practice still the same. Okay, so the status, right, meaning to say that who can be the GRA. All right. Of course, they don't actually say that it must be Malaysian, but however, for those project with 2 years, project for 2 years, because your output, right, is actually one master student. So meaning to say that in this case, no choice. Your GRA must be Malaysian. Okay, your GRA must be Malaysian. So for those project with 3 years, meaning to say that, right, you actually need to have 2 GRA, all right, 2 master. So 2 master student. So in this case, the first one must be Malaysian. The second one, you have the option can be Malaysian or non-Malaysian. All right. Like I say, priority is always Malaysian national. Okay. So the qualification, like I say, right, it must be postgraduate by research student, not coursework, by research student. There must be a full-time postgraduate by research student. Okay. So one more time again, 2 years project, 1 master student. 3 years project, it can be 1 PhD or 2 master student. All right. So whatever GRA's research project they work on must be related to your research project. Okay. Now, the next thing is that the policy and then the policy impact. All right. So meaning to say that they will want to see your output, whether it's a guideline, it's a technical report, or it's a policy that actually will link to the government or the government related agency. Okay, so now government actually requires that, right, at the end of your project, you need to present your finding to the related government agency. Okay, now the next one is high impact publishing. All right, so for those who apply for FRGS, I think you still can recall that, right? There must be a publication indicated clearly. And one of the requirements they mentioned that it must be Web of Science. One of the publication must be Web of Science. Now, they do away with this Web of Science requirement. They only say that, right, you need to produce article for index journal. So when they mention index, right, it can be Web of Science, Scopus, ERA, and MySite. All right. But please make sure that no predictory journal publication. So if you are not sure, you can check with PJRC. We will help you to check whether that journal is actually listed in predictory journal or not. All right. So, and the APC, right? The APC, right? Max cap at 10,000. All right. Max APC you can request is actually capped at 10,000. Just bear in mind that I think 3 years, 3 or I'm not too sure. 3 or 2 years ago, government has already issued a circular. No funding, no APC funding will fund on any of those journal, NDPI, Frontier, all this. All right, they are not going to fund on this one. Okay, so make sure that you choose the journal properly. All right. Now, when you want to go for publication, you need to make sure that all the article that you publish, right, you must acknowledge. Okay, you must acknowledge that the funding, right, the source of fund is actually come from Malaysia, Malaysia, Ministry Higher Education Malaysia, right? Okay, then after that, the grant, okay, the grant title and your grant number. If the project being approved, right, there will be a grant unique ID that is assigned to you. So these are the 3 details must be mentioned in your article. All right. Now, so the output, right, the output can be a new knowledge, new theory, and the new model, process, right, and then the new technology, okay? So all these things, right, either you can present in a conference, okay? Now, there is a guideline that spell out also if you want to attend conference, there are certain criteria that you all need to meet, okay? So after this, I'm going to inform what are those criteria that you need to meet in order for you to present in a conference, okay? Publish in the index journal and IP filing. So meaning to say that anything that you get from here is either one of them, you have to communicate, okay, your output. Okay, so the next one is that, right, in your proposal, you must mention clearly as part of the output, which party, which stakeholder, all right, that actually get benefit from your research. Okay, so it can be government and local authority, the village community, NGO, school, and industry. Okay, you must mention clearly who are those party, who are those stakeholders that benefit from your research output. Okay, now, so this is what I say, something new. Okay, this is something new. Government want to have it because to them, every fund, right? Okay, every money, right? Every single cent that invested by the Ministry of Higher Education, all right, they want to make sure that they get the equivalent, right? They get the equivalent value, the return from it. Okay, so that's why you need to do the calculation on return of value. Okay, now, how do you get the return of value from? It's actually from the IP, from the publication, from the GRA or the RA, and then the benefit that you bring to the targeted group, okay? Now, how are you going to calculate on the return of value? Okay, so ministry will supply us with one Excel worksheet to calculate on that. Until today, we has not get that worksheet from the Ministry of Higher Education yet. Once we get it, we will circulate this document, all right? So that's why ROV is so important, because to them, project is no longer just completion. It's not just about completion. They want to see, all right, how much value that you have created. So that's why, right, even from the day you completed your project, right, you still need to continue monitor that project up to 3 years. All right, the first year of completion, second year of completion, and third years of completion, right, you need to submit the ROV, all right, ROV, that document to ministry. All right, so they want to monitor about that. Okay, now application evaluation, like I say, after you submit, all right, the due date is on 30th of March. The good thing is that we do not need to go through system. Okay, at this moment, the portal, right, the new portal is called Ready. I think some of you also, you actually check from the social media, there are a lot of people start to talk about this portal. All right, so this portal Ready, right, is actually the replacement or the improved version of the previous migrant portal. All right, which was down for more than 1 year. Okay, so some of them, right, some of those people in the social media that circulate say that, right, the application need to go through this portal, which is not true. Okay, for this year, okay, all the application is still manual application. So we actually circulate the application form to you. You'll need to complete and then return to PGRC on 30th of March. Okay. So the moment you all submit to PGRC, at the same time also, you need to tell us that, right? You need to provide the 2 reviewers detail, all right, to review your proposal. So whoever that you selected to become the reviewer, they must be at least associate professor or professor, all right, in your research area. So that is the time institutional evaluation will start. Okay. So the reviewer, right? The reviewer will actually review on your work, okay? Then they will check whether your project need any revision or not. If your project need revision, they will return, okay? They will actually return to the applicant, okay, asking them to do amendment. So applicant, you need to revise, okay? You need to revise your proposal based on the comment, okay, from the reviewer. Then you resubmit. You resubmit, reviewer need to do another round of evaluation again, okay? So once everything, right, your reviewer agree with the revision, okay, then this one will go to the PGRC, okay? Now, this year, government make it very clear. They put the task on PGRC, which is RMC in this case, okay? They make it very clear. Any project, right, that can reach Ministry of Higher Education must be those projects that is highly recommended or recommended. And they put down clearly the marks that is required for highly recommended and recommended. This is the mark range. So we cannot forward any of those projects that is scored below 80 to KPT. Okay. So after this, I'm going to go through on the score again. Okay. So what are those breakdown of the weightage of different group? Okay. So like I see, right, internal evaluation. Okay. Internal evaluation. So the panel will actually assess your proposal, and whoever panel that you're assigned, make sure that they are the expert in your research area. So they will be the one that actually provide the feedback. Okay. So after that, right, IPT, right, meaning to say the institution, we need to classify. All right, we need to classify based on the recommendation from the reviewer. We need to classify which project is highly recommended, which project is actually recommended. Of course, we need to look at the score that is given. All right, must at least 80 and above, only that those projects can reach KPT, Ministry of Higher Education. Okay. Now, so this is the one that I'm trying to say, okay? For the evaluation score, right, this is the breakdown, okay? This is the breakdown. So basically, y'all can see that, right, the weightage is actually come from this part, the methodology, okay, the methodology. Now, why the methodology is 20%? Why the methodology is 20%? Like I see, right, government make it compulsory to have pattern search. And another one, beside pattern search, right, another one is a risk assessment, all right, risk assessment. And also, you need to make sure that your method, whatever thing that you put inside there, okay, you need to be very transparent, okay, so that they actually can replicate your study based on whatever method that you actually suggest, okay. And another thing, right, you all can see also something which is at here, your expected outcome. So like I say, right, your expected outcome, right, you need to make sure that you align back to whatever ministry, whatever whatever research area that you map into, all right. And another one, this is the one. That's why you all can see that industrial collaboration carry 20%. So the collaborator that you identify is very, very important. Okay, the industry collaborator that you identify is actually very important. It carry 20%. Okay, so that's why if you fail to have industrial collaborator, right, basically your project cannot reach. Okay, you will never reach KPT already, because like I say, right, just now I mentioned that only project with at least 80% can reach KPT. If this component is not there, right, basically you lost 20%. Your project cannot go to KPT. All right. Okay, expenditure. Okay, so this one you need to know so that when you do your budget, you will do accordingly. You will make sure that your item fall under proper VOT and you will not ask for something that is not permittable. And also, right, you will make sure that, right, those things, right, you actually do not ask for the maximum amount that is needed. Okay, so the first one, what 11,000? Okay, 11,000. So this is the allowance for GRA and RA. Now, last time when we talk about FRGS, FRGS only under what 11,000 is only for GRA. Okay, for those who apply before, you definitely know that. Okay, it's actually under what 11,000 is only for GRA, but this year they actually allow for RA. The justification for project leader to apply for research assistant is that, okay, a lot of the time we know that getting a GRA is not easy. All right, getting a GRA is not easy. So what the government actually allow us to do is that, but your project still need to run. So they actually allowed you, before you actually can file a GRA, you can just temporarily hire the research assistant so your project can go. All right, so your project still can run. Okay, so this is the one that is under research assistant. Okay, research assistant. So the allowance for GRA and RA, there is a difference there. Okay, now for GRA, government also revised. The GRA allowance is now up to, for PhD, is now up to 3,000, no longer 2,800. Okay, and then for master, right, also there has increased from 2003 to 2005. Okay, so this is for GRA. Now for GRA, in your calculation, you can never include SOXO and EPF. All right, SOXO and EPF cannot include for GRA allowance. However, for RA, okay, for RA, the payment or the allowance give to RA, you can include, okay, you can include EPF and SOXO. All right, so this is the regulation set by Ministry of Higher Education. Okay, so RA no longer under what 29,000. For the old application, right? Okay, RA is actually under the WAT 29,000. But for the new ruling, RA is actually under WAT 11,000. Okay, now you have to bear in mind that GRA and RA cannot be applied at the same time. So meaning to say that if my project start in January, okay, if I cannot find GRA, I can apply an RA first. The moment I manage to find the GRA, then my RA service need to be stopped. Now, some of you may ask me how long I can apply how long I can apply RA. 3 months. Okay, 3 months. Yeah, maximum duration you can apply for RAs is actually 3 months. Okay, now, so when you hire for GRA, there must be a proper appointment letter and then the enrollment letter, because GRA, they must enroll into our postgraduate by research program. So they must enroll into our postgraduate by research, not other institution. Okay, they cannot say that I become your GRA because one of the collaborator or one of the researcher is from another university. Can they go there to study or not? No, it must be in our institution. Okay, now the next one is WOT 21,000. Okay, WOT 21,000. So for 21,000, this one is mainly for travel, transportation, and also for the this one is basically also include the travel transportation expenses, not only to collect the data, and also attend meeting and conference as well. Okay, conference as well. So for conference, right? For conference, your GRA can attend, meaning to say that you can include the budget for your GRA to attend conference within Malaysia and also Asian country, meaning to say that your GRA can attend a conference in Bangkok, no issue. Okay. Now, for project leader, right, they want to go to overseas to attend conference. There are certain criteria that actually they need to meet. All right. RMC will need to check whether, right, you have served in this institution more than 5 years or less than 5 years. So for those, right, who are actually less than 5 years, okay, they must have the publication requirement. They actually have the publication requirement. Okay, like for example, for science and technology project, the project leader, right, who served less than 5 years in this institution, they must have at least two either Web of Science or Scopus publication. Okay, then only that they can apply funding to oversee conference. And all these things, right, the requirement for the conference presentation in overseas, you all can read the guideline. It's clearly spelled in the guideline. Okay, and also, right, the guideline for project leader who come from science and technology project and also social science, all right, the requirement is different. So that's why you need to clearly know that, right, your project belong to what category. Some of those rules apply differently. Okay, so now how many times you can go to overseas for conference presentation and how many people can go? Okay, once overseas. All right, and how many people can go? 2%. All right, whoever want to go, they just need to make sure that they meet all these criteria. Okay, now the next one is renter. Okay, the next one, this one is renter. Now on last Thursday when I went for briefing, right, okay, they did highlight this thing. Okay, I do understand that especially for science and technology project, right, science and technology project, a lot of the time you need equipment. Okay, now Ministry of Higher Education, they mentioned one thing is that if let's say, for example, some of those machinery, right, is actually, you know that they're actually available. These are machinery available in some of those public university, right? They actually ask you to go for renting first. But of course, there will be a circumstances. Some of those machine, right? Yes, the university, they have it, but they are not available to rent out because they themselves want to use it. In that case, you actually can use the board from 35,000 to purchase it. Okay. However, government did mention that, right, priority is always to rent, okay, to rent the equipment for other institution first. Okay. Now, the next one is what 27,000 supply and material. Okay. So again, like I say, right, for this one, you need to make sure that, right, there is a quotation. All right, there is a quotation. Whatever asking amount you have, right, you need to make sure that you get the quotation. Now, please, please don't go to Lazada, don't go to Shopee, don't go to some of those online e-commerce website, screenshot the price and put inside there as a price quotation. No, they don't allow. All right, they don't allow. Ministry of Higher Education clearly said that, right, this sort of quotation they will not accept. You need to write to the company and ask for that quotation. Okay, ask for that quotation. Some of you, if you encounter issue, reach out to PGRC. PGRC will actually help you to get in touch with procurement. They will actually help you to provide that quotation. Okay, now the next one is the professional service. Okay, professional service. Now, professional service, right? This one, it can be like some of those service you need other, like for example, those lab tests, all right, which in our institution, those lab tests, right, cannot be done in our institution. You may have to go to UKM or to do this lab test, right? Then this one will be under professional service. Okay, enumerator. Now, enumerator, right, if you are doing an online survey, right, don't ask for this amount, because these people, they are the one that help you to collect the data. So if you conduct a focus group, if you conduct like for example, you want to collect the data like from rural area. So So this are case, right? You still can ask for enumerator, okay? So enumerator, how do you count on their pay? Is either by hour or you actually by the piece of the respondent that actually returned by this enumerator, okay? Now, honorarium, right? Again, this one go back to the institutional practice. This one is normally you pay to the respondent, like for example, focus group respondent, interviewee, okay? So this one you'll pay them honorarium, or some of those expert, they come in to validate or some of your work, all right, that like validate your scale, okay? So these people you want to pay them honorarium, okay? So normally for participant, right, respondent, our rate is from 20 to 50 ringgit Malaysia, okay? So for those expert, right, you can go up to 200, 300, or 500. No issue on that, okay? But you don't ask like 20K for honorarium. It's something a bit ridiculous, okay? Journal fee, APC, right, you can ask for it. Like I say, max cap at 10,000. And conference fee, right, okay? Now conference, right, make sure that not any of those conference, right, is for profit making purpose. So the conference, right, is either organized by university, recognized university. Another one is by those learned organization, like for example, IEEE. Okay, IEEE. These are professional body that actually conduct the conference. Okay, and software subscription fee. Now, when I say that software subscription fee, right, you want to ask for NVivo, you want to ask for Smart PLS. Now, fine is okay. Again, like I said, don't go to the website, get the screenshot for the price. Should be a proper quotation, okay? And another thing is that please do not put in any request, say that you want to subscribe for any of those AI like ChatGPT, all those things, all right? Don't put in this type of request, say that, right, your software subscription fee include ChatGPT. All right, no. Okay. Data set processing. Okay. Like for example, you can subscribe to certain service that actually help you to transcribe your interview data. Okay. And like I say, some of those like lab tests. Okay. You need specialists to analyze on all those data. Yes, you can ask for it. Okay. Now the next one is the accessory and equipment. Okay. So this one, purchase of the equipment and accessory and some of those specialized software, okay, specialized software, yeah, okay. And the last one, maintenance and minor repair, okay, maintenance and minor repair. So for this one, right, okay, maintenance, right, it can be include the maintenance for the equipment that you bought for the current project, and it also can be existingly, all right, the institution already have that equipment, like for example your 3D printer, you already have that equipment, so you will want to use that equipment, okay, to do your project. So the maintenance can also include the maintenance fee for the existing asset, all right, the existing asset. But however, the maintenance fee, right, is only cover the period of your project. Any of the maintenance after the project end cannot be included. Okay. All right. Now, research project, how do the institution actually manage on this? Okay. So basically, like I said, there will be a two-stage. One is on the application and approval stage, right? So the project leader, you will need to put in your application. They will need to go through the internal evaluation, which is by the reviewer. Then after that, right, the RMC will forward, your PGRC will forward your application to the Ministry of Higher Education, MOHE, for approval. So after, if your project is selected, then the fund will channel to the university, okay? Then after that, right, before you actually start on your project, right, there will be a number of documents that need to be signed, okay? The agreement is signed between the institution and also the Ministry of Higher Education, MOHE. All right. So agreement need to be signed, like I say, right? And then after that, right, the researcher need to have the declaration letter, say that they agree to conduct the research. And then normally you will need to have a proper, because initially when you apply, right, when you apply, you only put in LOI. So if the project is approved, then you may need to draw a formal agreement like MOU and MOA. So my advice is that, right, after you already secure your project, always go for MOA in order to be recognized in Malaysia under MIRA system. If you sign an MOU, it's not going to be recognized. Okay. Now, monitoring, like I say, right, there will be a supervised monitoring, and then this one supervised monitoring, every 6 months, you need to submit your progress report. And after that, annual unscheduled site visit by KPT to the institution to check on your progress, okay? So project, like I said, every 6 months, you need to actually submit your progress report. So your report output and ROV after, even though your project already completed, but within 3 years, you still need to update on your progress, okay, until all the KPI is achieved, okay? Now, remaining allocation, previously, right, or any of those FRGS grant, the money unused one is kept within the institution, all right? It's actually kept within the institution. All right, now KPT mentioned clearly, any unused need to return to them, okay? Now, transfer of what, okay, transfer of what. Some of you, right, okay, some of those applicants, some of those project leader, after they already secure the grant, okay, then when they start to implement the project, they start to realize that, right, the funding is not sufficient for certain category, okay, so they will want to play around with the fund that is being approved. Okay, now in this case, right, okay, they need to seek approval before they actually want to use the funding to use the fund for others' purpose, okay? So all those applications must go to RMC. And this last time we used to have RMC, meaning to say that PGRC is the one that actually monitor, but now KPT has requested one extra step, okay, one extra step, meaning to say that, right, they actually want PGRC to seek approval from JKPU, okay? Now, the JKPU in this case, right, in our institution, right, is the RIEC committee. It's the RIEC committee. So now RIEC committee, right, the entire committee will actually be responsible to approve on all these requests, okay? Like, for example, after you start your project, you realize that you want to change your KPI. Instead of just one publication, you want to change to 2 publications, and you want to extend your project, okay? Initially 24 months, you want to extend to 26 months, okay? So these are requests, go to PGRC. PGRC needs to present the case and seek the approval from RIEC, okay? In our institution, the committee is called RIEC committee, okay? And financial and asset amendment. Like I say, initially your GRA, you only allocate this amount. Now you need GRA can never do that. So let's say, for example, right, initially you actually request for conference funding. Conference funding, let's say 5,000, and you realize not enough. You want to transfer the money from another ward to a conference, right? Yes. Submit to PGRC. PGRC will need to table the case to RIEC to seek approval. Okay. So asset, initially you did not plan for this asset. You want to purchase the new asset that is not initially in your proposal. Again, all these requests need to go into PGRC, and PGRC will table the case. Okay. Now, you cannot purchase new asset if your project still have 6 months to go. All right. If only left is 6 months, you cannot purchase any new asset. Yeah. And the next one is a team membership. Okay, the team membership. If you want to add in new team member, or there is a member left, right? Okay, all these things also need to go to PGRC table for approval. Okay, so like I say, right, you can see that, right? Our PGRC in this case, right? PGRC will actually review all the application and forward to RIEC for final authority. And all those paperwork must be there. Okay, we need to forward to KPT. Okay, so you can see that, right? The start date will be the date that is approved by MOHE. Then after that, right, the project end date, right, is actually the one that you specify in your application, okay? Or do you need any extension or not, okay? Now, this is something new. Last time, within 3 months after your project complete, you must submit your final report. but now they extend to 6 months. Okay, but right, the 6 month, right? Okay, after the ended, right, you are not allowed to do any research activity. Okay, which is the same one like our old one. After project ended, no research activity can be done. Okay, and last year, right, the previous FRGS, okay, we mentioned very clearly the moment your project ends, you are not supposed to touch any money inside there. All right, now they actually say that your project end, you still be given 6 months. Okay, you still be given 6 months, right? Okay, to actually you still can spend the money, all right, within that 6 months. Okay, but no new expenditure, meaning to say that you cannot request for any new items that is not initially in your proposal. Okay, now what financial spending that you actually can do within that 6 months is only for your APC and IP filing only. Okay, so like I say, right, that 6 months you need to present, all right, to the monitoring committee if KPT call you to present. Okay, so the final report must be submitted 6 months after your project completed. Okay, so closing, right, closing, you need to present to the KPT. All right, sorry, this one is KPT. And then the final report must be submitted, and then KPI, right? RMC is the one, PGRC is the one to check whether you actually achieve the KPI or not. Okay. Now, like I say, even your project is completed, okay, it doesn't mean that you stop. Every year you need to update on your ROV for 3 years. Okay, for 3 years. And also KPT may come drop by the institution to have the site visit. Okay. Now, monitoring and penalty. Okay. So now they make it very clear. Before this, they always mention that if the project is not performing, all right, the RMC need to do something. But now they make it very clear. If the project, right, is not performing, okay, then they will give 3 months for observation. Within that 3 months, all right, they will check whether the performance is satisfactory or non-satisfactory. Okay, so if within that 3 months, right, they observe that it's a satisfactory performance, then the project can continue. Otherwise, the project will be terminated. Okay, now what will be the consequences? Okay, finance freeze. If you do not submit your progress report, all right, then your finance, you cannot ask for any additional funding. Okay, and blacklisted for up to 2 years. Okay, these 2 years, right, is for project leader. Okay, 2 years. Okay, and then core researcher 1 year. All right, core researcher 1 year, project leader 2 years. Okay, and if you overspend the money, okay, overspend the money, they give you 100K, you spend up to 150K, you need to pay back. You need to pay back. Okay, but this thing won't happen in our institution because we don't give you the money. When you need to use the money, you need to request through EPRN. Okay, now project terminate. Under what circumstances the project can be terminated? Financial misconduct. You use the money for something that is not supposed to use. Like, for example, you go to buy a handphone using the money. All right. So under these circumstances, the project can be terminated. Similar research. What is the meaning for this one? Meaning to say that, right, your grant, your project, that the one that you carry out, right, you actually being funded by another party as well. So in this case, the project need to be terminated. Self-withdraw, failed research, and no expenditure for the first year. Entire year, you don't use any money. So meaning to say that your project is not progressing. So this project need to be terminated. Okay. Now, so basically, this is a clear cut that actually want to observe. So how do you know that whether, right? Okay. Is there any way that the project leader can be improved or not? You identify. Then after that, you give them the warning letter. All right, there must be a warning letter asking for show cause. Then they still cannot show progress. They're unable to provide justification. Then the penalty will be imposed. Like I say, 2 years for project leader, blacklisted. You cannot apply for any more grant. All right, core researcher 1 year. Okay, submission. Yeah. We come to the submission already. Okay, so this is the timeline. Okay, this is the timeline. Like I say, right, 1st of March, all right, the grant already open. So closing that is 30th of March. Okay. So panel evaluation, we will forward to the panel, then they start to evaluate. So this is a time, if the panel come back to you, you need to quickly improve on your proposal and send back to the reviewer again to check until they agree. All right. So RMC evaluation will start from here. Okay, why RMC need to evaluate on your proposal? PGRC need to evaluate on your proposal because we need to check on all those, like your document is complete or not, whether the asking amount, right? Asking amount is justifiable or not. Make sure that you follow the proper structure. So on the final day, 15th of April, all this must go to KPT. All right, must go to KPT. So this is the timeline that we need to observe. All right. So submission procedure, okay, submission procedure, right? Okay, no portal like last year, migrant portal is still down, so there's no portal. Ready portal is not open yet. Okay, ready portal is not open yet. So all the application, right, you need to submit in Word format. Do not submit to us in PDF format. Huh? Okay, please do not submit in PDF format. So what you need to attach, your pattern search form. LOI. Like I said, I do not encourage for MOU and MOA. All right. Any MOU or MOA from our institution, right? We need to go for 2 level. Institutional legal unit and GE legal unit, which is going to take about 1 month. We don't have that luxurious amount of time. So just always go for LOI first and price quotation. No screenshot for all those online e-commerce website, Shopee, Lazada, okay? And then the master list for performance, master list permohonan, okay? So this is in an Excel format, okay? So like I said, any of those things do not convert into PDF, all right? Do not convert into PDF, okay? So basically, these are all the basic information that y'all need to know, okay? So the garis panduan is here, okay? Y'all actually can read the garis panduan. It's all in Bahasa, okay? So anyway, this day easily y'all can actually go and do a translation, okay? Do a translation for yourself, okay? So especially on the vote, okay? This is the one. What are those money that you actually can ask for it, huh? Like for example, vote, all these things, what are those money you actually can ask for it? Try to go through this one, make sure that you don't ask something that is not permit, all right? They don't allow for that, okay? Okay, so this one. You can actually ask money for training, okay? You actually can ask money for training. But of course, there are certain criteria, okay? Overseas training, you only can attend online, okay? Then for those, right, okay, tempo yang dibenarkan, at least 2 weeks, not more than 3 months, okay? Then there is a quota there, not more than 5%, okay? So like I said, the guideline is there. You all can read, okay? You all can read for that. The APC, right, when you said that publication fee, right, not only about the APC itself, proofreading service also is there. Editing service also is actually included, okay? Now, so you actually can go through this one, okay? What are those what are those items that you cannot ask for it? Is all spelled out clearly at here. Okay, so this is the guideline. You all can actually go through this one. So I think I want to let you know that there is one part. Okay, this is something that I would like to want to emphasize. All the data that you all get, right, you must share with PGRC when your project is complete. Okay, when your project is complete. So this is the one that I mentioned, conference, national conference and overseas conference, right? Please read this guideline. So they did mention clearly criteria for you to attend an overseas conference. So for S&T, you serve at UOW less than 5 years, right? So you must meet this requirement before you actually put in your application say that you want to go to overseas. But if in your team, your next appointed leader or your mentor, right, they actually meet those requirements already, then you still can put in funding. All right, you still can put in funding to ask for overseas conference. All right. Okay, so like I say, right, looking at the time, right, I don't really have that much of time, okay? So you all can go through the guideline yourself, okay? Now, I just want to emphasize that on the application form, okay? On the application form, like I say, you need to make sure that you really know that, right, which grant you actually apply for it, okay? Whether it's actually exploratory grant or transformative grant, okay? Like I say, you need to make sure that, right, okay, which is the one that you actually fall into, map it correctly, okay? And fill in all the detail. Like I say, each one of them, right, you need to be very clear. The location of the research, right, it must be in Malaysia. All right, the location of the research, it must be in Malaysia. Cannot be outside. Okay, cannot be outside from Malaysia. Okay. These are those typical, okay, typical proposal, what they will actually ask for. Okay. Yeah, so this is the one that I mentioned. For IP, right, intellectual property, right, altogether, these are the number of different, okay, different, what is that? Different IP that you actually can buy in, okay? Patent, utility, innovation, copyright, okay? Industrial design, geographical indication, layout design, trade secret, okay? So you must have that, okay? So the budget, make sure that, like I say, right, do not put it wrongly, okay? So collaborator, right, it become a must. So their CV must be there, okay? So that's why you need to include either LOI, MOA, or MOU, okay? Yes, so that's why, like I say, risk assessment is a must. You actually need to assess whether the risk is high, low, or medium, and what is the justification. So you must put inside here, okay, in your application. And you need to declare all these things, okay? So this is the application form. Okay, so now I think the next thing is that this is the pattern search form. So you need to go to this website, okay, to search for the pattern. Okay, you need to go to this website, so search for the pattern. Okay, so they actually divide whether for those projects you are classified under humans, art, and social section, social science section, right? You fill in this part. For those engineering S&T project, right? You fill in this part. So this is the form you must attach. Okay, you must attach when you submit pattern search. Okay, so now the next two document is about your Excel. All right, now this is the one, right? I want to emphasize is that, right, this is the evaluation form by the panel. All right, now why I need you all to go through this form is because, all right, this one will spell out what is the requirement that you all need to meet. Like the title, your title must be clear and specific. Okay, your executive summary must include all these components. Okay, then your background, right? Okay, what are those things that you must put inside? Your objective, okay, and then your methodology. So that's why I said that why methodology up to 20%, because risk assessment and pattern search fall under this category. And your expected outcome, you need to map back clearly, okay? It fall into which one? It link back and your ROV and then the future direction, okay? And then like I say, right, industrial collaboration make out 20%, okay? Make out 20%, you can see it here. So this, if you do not go for industrial collaboration, you lost that 20 marks. The moment you lost 20 marks, your project will not go to KPT. All right? Because it will not fall under highly recommended or recommended category. All right? Okay. So this is something that, and this is a form also the master list, right? We need you to fill in your project detail, okay, up to the column that is actually highlighted. Okay, so these are the form that we need you to fill in. All right. Okay. because looking at the time, all right, I don't really have that much time. It's already overrun 15 minutes. Any question? Any question? Okay, I see so many questions that here. I'm so sorry. Prof. Joshua, 50% Malaysia, 50% non-Malaysia possible. Prof. Joshua, are you talking about what? This is project leader or GRA or what? Prof. Joshua? I can't hear you. Your voice is too far. I can't hear you. Prof. Joshua, I can't hear you. Your 50% Malaysian, 50% non-Malaysian is actually for GRA, for project leader, or for core researcher? GRA, okay. GRA, right? Okay, like I say, right, this only apply for those projects for 3 years. For 3 years, because one of the GRA, right, requirement, the combination is that you have 2 master student. So the moment you have 2 master student, your first master student must be Malaysian. Then the second one, it can be Malaysian or non-Malaysian. So that's why I say 50-50%. All right. So for Dr. Wong Kai Jung, core researcher must be Malaysian working. Now, the core researcher in this case, right, the next appointed leader must be Malaysian. So the rest, right, your mentor, okay, your mentor, your other core researcher, right, it can be non-Malaysian, okay? It can be non-Malaysian. It can be Malaysian or working in overseas. Yes, it's acceptable. They also encourage international collaboration. Industrial collaborator must be from Malaysia. Okay. Of course, they encourage from Malaysia, but if you have international, is acceptable. That's why if you go to see your form, right, you can see that, right, your form at here, okay, they have peringkat antarabangsa, international level. All right, international level. Okay. Okay. Reviewer. Okay, must be Malaysian. Reviewer must be external or can we invite internal reviewer? Yes, you can invite internal reviewer, no issue. Just make sure that, right, they must be associate professor and above, okay? Then after that, right, must be from your field, okay? Must be from your field. Okay, you can appoint, meaning to say that if Penang campus, you don't have it, right, you reach out to UG campus, no issue on that. Okay. Yes. Any other question? I believe I answered all the questions from the chat, right? Okay. Any other question? Everyone want to go back already? Any other question? Okay, now just want to share one thing is that, right? Okay, because we received the letters, the revised application form from Mohe on the 3rd of March. All right. So all these I will ask Ama, okay, the Teaching and Learning Center, to send again all the revised form, include today slide, all those things. I will send out one more time. Okay, I will send out one more time. Okay, and also at the same time, right, actually, like for example, some of those useful material, okay, like for example, some of you don't know what is technology readiness level, right? Okay, I managed to find some of these things, right? Some of these things from website and social media. I will share now. Class, sorry, to get used to become a lecturer. Okay, now just want to share that there are a lot of those information that circulate around social media talking about this grant. But again, Ministry of Higher Education actually give us institutions certain right. Okay, so that's why some of those, right, it can be different institutional practice. So that's why it will be always good that you refer back to PGRC again. All right, like for example, the rate of payment for RA. All right, this one is institutional practice. Go back to the institutional practice, how much we pay for a bachelor degree RA. So all those things, right, you still need to refer back to us. So some of those, like I said, some of the information being circulated as social media may not be correct. Okay. So some of those information that I find useful, like for example, how do you understand that technology readiness level? Okay, so they actually give you example. How do you actually divide it? Okay, so for some of this information, I will share around. Okay, like for example, right, what are the example that you actually can refer to? Okay, I will share all this information. Okay, like when you want to write this proposal, what are those things that you can actually go for it? Like for example, for social science, right, try to actually frame your output as a social technology. All right. So when the moment they see the word technology, innovation, technology, the words technology, the words innovation, right, it will be easiest for your project to get through. Okay. So some of those things I will share. Okay. So any other question? Any other question? Now, I do understand that the timeline is very tight. And furthermore, Raya is coming. All right, Raya is coming. And the institution have 1 week break. Okay. So anything also, right, if you have any issue for UG side, you can always refer to me. Okay. Penang side, you can always refer to Dr. Azrin and Prof. Dr. Joshua. All right. Any other question? No question. All right. Can I end? All right. Then I assume that no more question. I will just end the session. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dr. Jasmine.
Thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Jasmine.
Yeah,
Thank
thank
you,
you,
Dr.
Jasmine.
Jasmine.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.